I've been blessed. I mean, I made a lot of money at a relatively young age, and was a millionaire a few times over. But just in terms of what you can do and the opportunities it buys, there's no comparison.
When you find something you're good at, go for it. And I also always say it's not about passion. Everybody's got passion for something, right? Don't follow your passions, follow your efforts. Because people say, I was passionate to play baseball. I was passionate to play basketball. Doesn't mean all of a sudden I was going to be good enough. But I found myself being really curious about business, being really curious about technology. And that curiosity is really what drove me. And I think, particularly if you're young today, curiosity is great. Always learning and trying to find new things and being curious about new things, because that's what leads you to that path. Trying to figure out in advance, that's hard because you don't know what you don't know.
You're talking, alluding to it earlier about entrepreneurs being born or built, and I think I knew I was wired to be excited about business. How or why, I don't know, but and there's certain guys that have the genetics to jump out of the gym, right? There's certain guys, that when they golf, they have the muscle memory and the discipline. Dirk Nowitzki may not be the most talented guy in the NBA, but his discipline and his focus to do what's necessary to be successful, he's willing to do, and combine it with being 7 feet tall and being skilled, it makes him an amazing basketball player. So it's understanding what your skill set is, finding the right place to use those skills, and then going for it. Will that make you 250 grand? It depends if you pick the right industry. But whatever industry you pick, if you outwork everybody, if you try to be a little smarter than everybody, if you try to be a better salesperson than everybody, if you try to be better prepared than everybody, you've got your best chance. Because if you don't do it and somebody else does, I have the saying, work like someone's trying to take it all away from you. I actually work like someone's spending 24 hours, working 24 hours to take it all away from you. And that's kind of the way I look at it.
First of all, you got to do it, right? Everybody's got ideas, but you've got to take that step. Like, you've thought about this show for a long time, but it's hard to take that step. In my case, I had to get fired in order to force myself to get there.
When you start a business and you start to talk about somebody, you're never in a vacuum with no competition, unless you're just extremely lucky. And if there's going to be competition, that means somebody else knows your business as well as you do when you get started. And if you walk into a competitive environment and they still know more about the business than you do and more about your customers, you're going to lose. But most people don't consider that. They don't do the work. They don't learn more about their industry. They don't know even about their business. And so you've got to put in the effort to know more about your industry than anybody else. And that's the brains part, and that's the effort part as well. Because look, if you're competing with me, you better know what you're doing. Otherwise, I'm going to kick your ass, and you're not going to outwork me. And so, the combination is usually what kills businesses early on more than anything. My dad did upholstery on cars. My mom did whatever odd jobs. But my dad was always like, if you want something, you have to earn it. And to his credit, he never said, no, you can't do that. So whether it was selling garbage bags, baseball cards, stamps, whatever it was, he never held me back. And so I think that was as important as anything. And sometimes being young and trying things, you're so naive and you don't know any better. All you do is learn. And if you fail, it doesn't matter. And so whether I was 9, 10, 12, 16, 21, the failures were irrelevant. And whether you're 9, 12, 16, 21, 22, 24, I'm sleeping on the couch. I have a car with a hole in the floorboard. I'm living like a bum and like a student. And so what did I have to lose? And so I think that influenced me as much as anything. So it was, my dad was like, go for it. Why not? What have you got to lose? You have to sleep on a different couch. So I think that was motivation.
You've got to realize that whatever you're doing, you're competing with somebody. What is it that gives you an advantage over your competition? What's your core competency? What are you good at? Whatever you're good at, try to be great at it.
So whatever business you have, there's somebody trying to put you out of business. There's somebody trying to take a bite out of your business. And it's better for you to figure out how they're going to do it rather than they do it. And so, that's being paranoid. And so you have to be paranoid. You have to anticipate other people's next moves, and you can't ever, downplay the competition. I was I was at a business plan competition this morning at a college, and they were kind of being dismissive of the competition. And so you can't ever do that. They're out there trying to take you down, and they're not just going to sit still. And if you're good, really, really good, you're going to inspire them to work even harder, faster, better. And so you have to be, very self-aware of what you're good at and what other people are good at. And, a healthy dose of paranoia makes a big difference.
There comes a point in time where you've got to figure out the answers yourself. Okay. Because learning how to solve problems, learning how to find answers, being curious enough to find solutions on your own is where successful businesses come from.
Yeah.
If you're always looking to say, well, what should I do?
Right.
You're already have lost.
If you're going to have and run a business, if you don't understand accounting, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Can't you hire a guy that knows how to run
But then
accounting?
they still have to communicate to you, right? I mean, there's people that don't understand the concept of, the difference between profits and cash. Your accountant might tell you you're profitable, but your cash is going down. Not understanding a breakdown. And when you don't,
Do you think you need college to learn that?
yeah, I think you do, right? Because it may not, for some people, look, if you're so self-motivated that you can take an online course in accounting and teach yourself everything, you're way ahead of the game anyways. But most people aren't. And I'm not saying you have to go to Indiana. I'm not saying go to an expensive school. I don't care if you go to a community college and take accounting and spend $99 for the class. Just, spending the money forces you to be more obligated to do it. But accounting, finance, lesser extent marketing, sales, if the school offers that, these are all that's the language of business. And so while it's possible to teach yourself these things, and while it's possible to hire them, when you're starting your own company, you don't want to have to spend money hiring an accountant, right? You're already probably going to have to hire a lawyer to set up your. Well, let me take that. If you've gone through all these classes, you probably don't have to hire a lawyer to incorporate, right? You can probably figure out yourself. And so your cost of opening up a business drops. But even more important than all that, that's the blocking and tackling. That's the language of business. The thing I learned at Indiana that was more important than anything else, I learned how to learn. And learning became far more important to me, because the one certainty in business is that it's always going to be changing. If you're not always learning, to this minute, if I'm not continuously learning, if I'm not just absorbing as much as I can absorb, someone else is going to kick my ass. Right. There's never been a company to exist that didn't have revenue. And so when you're getting started, the first thing to focus on is not raising money. That's the biggest mistake people make. 99.99% of businesses don't have to raise money, but you have to have customers. And so what I always suggest is, whatever your service is, if you're mowing yards, if you're building widgets, whatever it is, go find customers. Because if you can find somebody who really likes what you're doing, they're going to want the product, they'll support you. You want to be able to control your own destiny. You don't have to have the answers. It's okay if you fail.
Yeah.
Right. I tell people all the time, no one counts your failures. You just have to be right one time. Then you're living large. No, look, I'd be lying if I said, oh yeah, I knew I was going to be a billionaire, or I even thought it was possible. Never crossed my mind. I found whatever it took for me to motivate me. I would listen to motivational tapes or CDs. I would drive around looking at the big houses, thinking, what is that person doing that I'm not doing? What do I need to do to have a house like this? Because that's what motivated me. And for me, what really flipped the switch was I was never really into technology when I was a kid. Yeah. But then as I got a job that used it, I found out I was good at it. And once I found out I was good at it, then it became a lot more fun. Yeah. When you're good at something, it's almost always fun. Yeah, right? Yeah. And once it was fun, and I combined that with my business skills, then I saw, okay, I know how to make money at this stuff, because I know how to sell. Now I know tech. That gives me something I love to do. And so, what I tell people, the key is find something you love to do and be great at it.